Ambassador Medhat Meligy, the latest developments in Lebanon, of course, they have taken place after the ceasefire or during the time of negotiation of the ceasefire between the United States and Israel and Iran to be stopping the war raging in the Middle East. How do you see the latest developments in terms of violating this ceasefire in the south of Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah?
Well, unfortunately, there is nothing new here. I mean, Israel has always threatened and actually taken the liberty of striking even after a ceasefire. I mean, I think that the latest reports, we are talking about an average of between 7 to 10 martyrs every night in Gaza Strip after the peace accord were signed in Sharm el-Sheikh. I mean,
yes.
we are talking about 1,000 already, almost 1,000 since the signature of the agreement that was actually signed by President Trump himself. So actually what we are talking about here, whether we are talking about Lebanon, whether we are talking about Palestine, it is the same procedure. Israel do not respect any signing of any accord, starting from the Oslo Accord that is pronounced dead already, until the latest peace accord signed in Sharm el-Sheikh. Israel only benefits from this unconditional support from the United States and continue to strikes wherever it wants. You mentioned also Lebanon right now, and it has even threatened, as you mentioned in your report, to strike even beyond the yellow line, which is already decided that this is the line of southern Lebanon, not to mention the amount of territory it has already annexed to Israel. And then we are going to negotiate once again how do we get the safe return of these territories, not to mention the 1 million Lebanese who have migrated due to the escalation of the Israeli activity in southern Lebanon. So what we are seeing here is the continuation of the policy of impunity that Israel is actually enjoying due to the support of the United States, and especially with the reign of President Trump. And I think that even now, after the divergence in position between the United States and its traditional allies in Western Europe,
yes,
I think even those players who were quite influential before to pressure Israel a little bit, their influence or their impact is diminishing actually, simply because Israel is seeing that it doesn't need anyone except the United States, so it doesn't really care about the position of the European countries as it used to do. And unfortunately what we are seeing right now is that the situation is becoming more and more gloomy. We don't know exactly where are we going to stop, since Israel has already liberated itself from any rule of engagement, from any respect to the international law or even the international humanitarian law. So when it comes to what do we think about what's going on, I think it is not positive at all due to what we are seeing right before our eyes.
How do you see the future of the Iranian arms in the region, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, for example, like the Houthis in Yemen, especially that it is becoming an alibi for Israel to be attacking those countries, and more specifically the south of Lebanon, and quite possibly intervening politically and militarily in the south of Lebanon?
Well, if we remember the agreement that were spoken about between Lebanon and Israel, and that there will be direct negotiations, and I think this already started with the both ambassadors at the United States, the Lebanese and the Israeli ambassador to the United States, and how to try to discuss the future of the relations. I think there was something very important in those accords. What we heard or what we read is that Israel has the right even to strike if it sees or it gets there is an intention to carry out any operation against its territories. So actually now we have moved to something unprecedented in the international law, that
yes,
Israel has the right to strike if it feels that there is an intention, not actually a real threat, just an intention, which means that Israel has the right always to keep on striking southern Lebanon, and even, as we have seen, all the way to Beirut. So this is the first point. As what comes to the arms of Hezbollah, of Iran, which is Hezbollah, for instance, I think that Israel is benefiting from the weak presence of Hezbollah more than the Lebanese right now. I mean, after the strike of the pager battle, as they call it, and removing many of the top leaders of Hezbollah, and after the many strikes on southern Lebanon and on the strong household of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. So Hezbollah is becoming like a lion without serious teeth. And thus its presence, just even morally, can actually be considered as a threat to Israel, and accordingly keep on bombarding and striking over Lebanon. And what's more dangerous, annexing more territory. I think that so far we hear that around 20% of the Lebanese territory is occupied by Israel. When are they going to leave? If they are going to leave at all, this is something remain to be seen.
Do you think that those arms for Iran in the Middle East, in the region, like Hezbollah, like the Houthis, they represent a sticking point in terms of the negotiation between the American president and Iran?
Yes, but they do not constitute a strong point from the Iranian point of view, because actually their presence is more vital to Israel than it is to the Lebanese people. Simply because as long as there is something called Hezbollah, which will always be there, Israel can take this, as you mentioned, as an alibi to continue pressuring Lebanon and to seizing more land to secure northern Israel. And this is the problem, that as Israel have done the same with Syria, and now it doesn't want to give back what is Syrian already. The idea in southern Lebanon is no more the Sheba farms. It's becoming a lot beyond that. I mean, we are talking all the way to the Litani River and maybe beyond. This is the serious problem with Israel. That's why we've seen, and we've said it several times on this platform and other platforms, that Israel has always insisted on not defining where its borders are, and simply because it's an expandable country and it's a colonialist power, so it wants to continue to annex more land and more territory before it would sign any agreement on where its borders are. It keeps saying that it does not need those lands, simply it wants them to secure its northern border, but the reality is not that. And we have right in front of us what happened in Syria, and it has occupied a huge amount of territories all the way to Jabal al-Sheikh, and it doesn't seem that there is any possibility of returning these lands, at least in the near future. So the situation is quite dangerous, because actually the arms of Iran, as you ask about, are becoming more profitable to Israel than it is to Iran. Iran has its own problem right now, because let's be honest, I mean, Iran has received substantial strikes from the United States.
Yes.
I mean, militarily speaking, Iran has lost a lot. But politically, Iran is still fighting its battle to try to get with a good face, let's say, in front of the international community. But militarily speaking, of course, the United States and Israel have hit it very hard, and they believe that because we don't know the exact situation there, so we don't know how badly the situation is. But of course, the regime is still in control. The powers who are supposed to be in power, although we don't know who is exactly in power over whom, because we hear whether we are talking about Mr. Mohammed Bakr on one side, or we are talking about the military and paramilitary forces in Iran, who is exactly in charge. But at the end of the day, we have a regime that is still in control. We have a population that is suffering, and we are not talking about a teeny country or a small country. We are talking about a country that is exceeding 90 million persons. So the situation is quite dangerous for Iran to give really serious intention about its military arms, whether we're talking about the Houthi or about Hezbollah or other powers in the region.
Yes, Ambassador Medhat Meligy, allow me to be going to the first report of the daily debate for tonight, focusing on the Palestinian cause and the efforts of Egypt to be supporting Palestine and more specifically the Gaza Strip on the diplomatic and the humanitarian fronts.